All right, what's going on, everybody? Another week, another Ask Me Anything happy hour. We're here to answer your questions and your questions alone. So make sure you get your questions ready because we got the whole team here ready to rock. We'll be right back after this. All right, we are back. We got the whole crew in the house today to answer your questions. It's been a heck of a week. Seems like training after training. So I'm sure you all have lots of questions. So let's get them out. Shauna, any pre-sent in questions?
Yes. So we do have 3 questions from Eve Page today. And I see you're on here, Eve. So the first one says, probably a Hannah question. I had an aha moment the other day. Wouldn't a whole life policy protect your cash from asset civil forfeiture?
What was the last word?
Forfeiture, I think.
Forfeiture? Asset civil forfeit? Civil asset? I don't know.
She's talking about protecting against liens and judgment. Is that what she's talking about?
I think so.
Essentially.
What state?
I know Eve is in California.
Ooh, well,
It's a terrible state.
up to around 2,000 and
Eventually
change
she'll
of.
make it to Tennessee, though. Eventually, she's got a house in Tennessee, and that's where she'll be winding up.
I looked this up yesterday for a client. It was I think it's up to 15,000 and change for cash value protection. That's it. So it's limited on the amount of cash value that is protected.
All right, I'm looking it up right now.
And all of our advice is we are not attorneys, we are not financial advisors, and we are not CPAs.
Said when the cops take your assets.
Yeah. But if you're married, it's twice that amount, if I remember correctly.
Okay. Her follow-up question is, or a different question, I should say. Can one transfer a policy without triggering a gift tax?
Wow, that was loud.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's okay. So can you transfer a policy without triggering a gift tax?
I believe you can, but I don't know. These are good questions, but holy smokes, getting stumped here.
They're coming with the hard questions today.
Sorry.
Yeah. This came up with a client of mine right now that I'm working on, and they were trying to do that. And I did ask I think it was a legal person, and they said, no, you got to be very careful about that. It's state specific as well, I believe, but you've got to be very careful about that because if you borrow from the policy, give it to somebody, it can fall underneath the gift rules. So yeah, you got to be careful about that.
So any life insurance policy valued over the federal tax exemption for gifts will be taxed when the policy pays out.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to be real careful with that.
So
this one says transferring to anyone other than your spouse. So maybe there's
I think you can transfer to spouse for sure.
Right. Yeah, this was transferring to their kids, which that's an issue.
the actual tax treatment can be complex.
Read that again.
Can one transfer a policy without triggering a gift tax? And then I don't know what the answer was.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, in the case that I was talking about, what they were trying to do is they were going to put a large amount, dump it into a policy, and then transfer right away. Yeah, that's going to trigger it because it's obvious. And this had to do even another layer was the VA. Remember I talked about this on one of our calls with the veteran, and so the VA will go look. I think it's 2 to 3 years back on your cash flow, and if they see that, then they won't allow it. Yeah. So they're trying to get benefits from the VA in that case, but yeah, it's the response I got back was just talk to an attorney in your state about the gift tax rules, and the time frames and that kind of stuff.
Okay, and then Eve, I might need your help with the last question that you just put in because I don't really understand. But it says, for second to die, does a couple need to be married? For second to die, does a couple need to be married?
Second to die.
I know. Yeah. So Eve, just kind of maybe say that a different way. I know you're here, so take a minute to say that.
We're talking about, yeah.
Yeah, there's a policy. There's a policy that you can have 2 people on. It's called second to die.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it can be just boyfriend or girlfriend, or if it can be anybody, or if it needs to be a spouse. I understand the question. I just don't know the answer.
So, gosh, this is just one I came up with one of mine. This is a while ago, and I think it has to do with the states, because states recognize that differently,
Okay.
right?
Interesting.
Gosh, I'm trying to remember what the answer was when I did that.
Oh, second to die. Is there two people on a policy? Like
Yeah.
both?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
I didn't know. So yeah.
It's also known as survivorship insurance.
Okay.
So what was the question?
Just first, maybe for that, do they need to be married? And she's thinking in terms of her mother right now, of maybe her mother and her mother's partner getting that type of a policy.
Yeah.
I just looked it up because I was know the answer, and it says they're not required to be married, but there's not many other relationships that would work. I would assume maybe siblings or something like that could possibly work, but it looks like there's other options.
Yeah, Linus must have come back. Linus, we need you. He said yes if there's an insurable interest.
Yeah, that would make sense.
So if two people are living together
Yeah.
for a long time, I would consider that. Yeah.
Yep, that's right. Sorry, every time we go live, my computer just craps out for some reason.
That's
Everything
okay.
freezes up.
That used to happen to me all the time, and Chris shamed me into getting a new computer eventually. So you guys remember that? I used to freeze all the time.
Yours was bad, yeah.
Yeah, I'd be like,
Yeah.
Okay, so now we're into the questions in the chat. We've only got 2 so far, so we'll start with it's the Chaos Crew. Hey, what's the best practice for calculating the monthly premium?
I love that picture. That picture's awesome.
Mike,
They do look like the Chaos Crew.
Who else take this one?
It depends is the best answer we always give. It depends. It depends on the whole conversation we're having around what are your goals, what you're trying to accomplish, what's your income, how much are you saving first, like how much are you saving, paying yourself first, following that principle. Because all we're doing is teaching people where does your surplus money go first. Got to make money first, people. So
I want to double down on what Jason said. I think we used to say something else that might not be beneficial for you guys, but yeah, I'm going to double down on what Jason said.
Well, I'll give you more specifics too. I mean, it does depend, like you said, on your situation. However, if we're looking at this policy as a safe place to store our money that is going to be guaranteed to grow, that is still liquid, then we want a majority of what we're saving going there. So any big purchase in the future can be pulled from this account to go do it. So if that's how we're going to treat it, then treat it that way. If you're already putting aside $500 a month in a savings account, great. Just have that be your premiums into the new policy. Or if you're already putting aside, $200 a week in a crypto account, great. Instead of doing that, run that through your policy and then go do that. So just kind of look at your whole situation and just kind of find ways to redirect where your monthly extra income is going and try and find the way to get that into the premium.
that's an excellent way to say it, Carson. What we're really doing in a lot of our strategy calls is looking for the financial leakage, like looking for the places that you're putting money already. You're already saving, but you might be putting it someplace where it's not protected, where it's not accessible. It's locked up in a financial prison. And we're just saying, hey, what if some of that went here to help you solve whatever you're trying to solve today, whether you're buying something, paying off debt, whatever your goals are.
And the maximum for maximum efficiency, if they wanted to put the maximum in, it would be approximately 20 to 25% of your annual income. That's what you can contribute to a policy, and you just break that down by the month.
And if you're a business owner and you own 100% of your business, you typically can include that in your gross income as well, and that could get you to do more premiums.
Yep. You are your business. Your business is you. This isn't looked at like the IRS. This is looked at by net worth. So you are.
I want to add something before I began with the money multiplier. So I started about 2019, my first policy. I was not a good saver. So the way I saw it was a forced automatic savings program. So I was accountable to having to pay however amount for that year. I was getting new into real estate investing, and as a realtor, so my income was very inconsistent and in chunks. So it helped me organize my finances, and because it is a plan. And now the way I see it is, I want to put my savings in there, and then my profits from my assets that come in, and then use the assets to pay back the loans that I use to purchase my assets, right? But I needed a system to hold me accountable for my savings, because like you guys said, the leakage, and listening to Chris and Brent, they always teach, pay yourself first. And if you're not doing that, you're giving your money to all the other people, and it's never going to compound.
That's really good. I would never be saving as much as I am now if it wasn't for this, really. But at the end of the day, are you guys saying I get to pick how much premium I want to do? Oh yes, that's awesome. It's not a cut and dried number, so that's why a strategy call is necessary. Go ahead.
That's awesome. No, that's funny. He's right.
And I think Justin was kind of asking a question based on a lot of your answers, but saying, is that in addition from also trying to save 10% of your yearly income, or are you talking about that 10% that you're saving and putting it into a policy?
I think it's a great number to start, Justin.
Yeah.
Like that 10% is being redirected into your policy. If you can save more and you eventually build up more and more and more savings, that's just going to help you.
Yep.
Like Chris always talks about how his early policies, like once he got done paying back the amount that was borrowed, he just kept paying it because he got into the habit. And what Gabe's talking about is habits. Most of the problems we have are financial habits. And it's the habit of, we got money. Like my wife's yesterday, I'll probably get in trouble for sharing this, that we ended up like getting like almost $900 back for next month, right? Like it's coming back to us for something we did. And so the first thing, she's like, what are we going to do with it? Like, what are we going to spend it on? I'm like, what are you talking about? We have to go put that money to work. It has to go into policy. And then we got to go start creating cash flowing assets. So then we can spend that money when that comes in. Right. So
I love that. I like we're hitting this question actually really well. When it comes to paying back your policy, like Jason's saying, if you don't have discipline, you're not going to be able to do this concept the best way possible. And you might hurt yourself in the long run. If you're not disciplined, you're not responsible, and you're controlling what's happening in and out of this policy. And so if you're in a position where you're just trying to learn how this all works and save some money, I'd almost say save money on the sidelines, put it away in a separate checking account just to continue. And then when you're ready to start doing this, then you have a lump sum to start the policy off with. So you can still get those dollars in the policy, but it's going to give you some time to practice this, prepare for this, and kind of build that discipline and just model of how you're going to organize your money.
Which is going to equal that progress with yourself. I love that, Carson. That's act as if you're already doing this. You don't need a policy to start having good habits.
Yeah.
So, if you don't have good habits, take a couple of months to prove it to yourself. Because I'll tell you what happens if you don't do that. Like Gabe's an exception to the rule. Like not many people are doing what Gabe did and start using this as the way to force yourself to have discipline. A lot of people, they see this, they want to start it. You can feel that they don't have good habits yet. And then when you start them and then they get approved, the first thing they say is, oh, well, this happened in my life, this emergency, this thing. Like change is always going to happen. You have to have that discipline to pay yourself and keep that money there first.
I was watching.
Yeah, can I add to that? I actually didn't start right away. I met Brent in 2014. That's the first time I was exposed to infinite banking. And 5 years went by and I did not start the policies. I paid for like a real estate investment course through like Rich Dad. I was looking at ways of buying assets and growing assets and doing online businesses. But I didn't start with the pay yourself first. If I would have just done that and then run whatever investments I was going to do through the policies, I would have a policy that's 5 years more efficient. I probably have multiple policies, but the discipline would have come in to pay yourself first. Those 5 years, I'm never going to get that money back that I spent. Some of it was good investments because in the end I developed some skills. Some of it, I still have some properties, but my banking system didn't start back then, right?
I was going to add one more thing too before we get to the next question.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was watching the Chicago Bears head coach this week giving a little talk to the team, and he said winning habits create winning, and losing habits results in losing. So he's like, just start doing winning habits day to day, small little things, and you will be winning. Like it's as simple as that. So same thing with money, guys. Like we can find winning habits, little things here and there to be doing. You'll start winning.
Love it. And Derek, I'm in the same boat as Derek and Gabe, saying I had zero self-discipline until I started to make myself do those policies. Okay, Michael's saying on a $1 million policy that I pull 800,000 from, what would a minimum monthly payment be roughly? Can I set the terms on the payment?
Stop.
A lot of problems with this, I think.
Yeah.
We might need to ask Michael some clarifying questions first.
Well, what do you mean a lot of problems with this? So you mean the $1 million policy? I think he's referring to $1 million deposit.
Cash value.
Yeah, $1 million deposit or $1 million premium deposit.
Yep.
And then pull 800,000.
Yeah, and what would
more? What would
Yeah.
the minimum be? I came up with about again age variations, medical rating variations are going to play in, but between $6,500 and $7,200 a month is what I would guess.
Well, I mean, he's right. If you're going to take out an $800,000 loan, that's the minimum you probably should pay yourself back. But let's clarify real quick, Michael, if you can let us know in the chat. By $1 million, I think most of us think you're referring to $1 million death benefit. I don't know if you have $1 million to dump in, but just clarify that so we can make sure we're answering this question correctly.
Yeah, we'll come back to it.
Yeah, to me, the question seemed pretty simple, like dumping in 800,000 into the policy, because he's talking about the term rider. So it seems like he's pretty educated. Dumping in 800,000, what would, and he's saying take out 80%, 800,000. So he's spot on there, or dumps in $1 million, takes out 800,000. But what would the minimum be to fit within the MEC rules for that $1 million that he puts in? And sorry, there we go. Yeah, the $1 million. So he puts $1 million in, wants to pull 800,000 out. So if you're going to put $1 million in, it's roughly, I was off a little bit, about 100,000, wouldn't it be, Joe? $1 million, 100.
Yeah.
If he's dumping in, if it's a straight no dump, that's just $1 million policy.
No, like assume that he hopefully he clarifies. I don't want to spend too much time on this, but to me, it seems like he wants to dump $1 million in.
Yep.
And he's saying, forget about, just eliminate the $800,000 piece for now. And he's saying, what would the minimum monthly premium deposit be? So
300,000 divided by 12.
300.
300.
I'll say 300, and then he can set the term, so he can pick monthly, quarterly, annually.
Well, in order to do a money tree in year 2, you're probably going to go around 300, I think. If he's dumping in $1 million.
You could, I've done them before where I've done $1 million and just like 120,000.
Yeah.
You should
So
be able
like
to
$1
go-
million and then 120,000 a year. So divide that out, and that's 10,000 a month.
Okay.
You can put up to 300,000, but you don't need to. He's asking for the minimum, not the money tree. He's asking so $1 million in.
Oh.
Just
I thought he was talking about the loan repayment.
That's what I was going to say too. I figured it was a loan repayment.
Ways. I guess we're all
a lot of messed up here.
It's okay. We'll come back. I promise. He gives us more.
Articulating the question different.
That was entertaining, though. That was good. That's some good stuff, guys.
I have no idea what we're talking about.
All right. So, overall investing question: when starting out investing, say in your 20s, would not the best way would be to just buy a good king stock and dollar cost buying it into it for a number of years.
Sure, that would work, but I don't know what a king stock is. Let's use the S&P 500. I mean, you never want to just own one stock, man. Like that's silly. I don't care how young you are. I mean, you could get lucky, but you could also go, it's like roulette, red or black, but there's always the green. So I would never just put it in one stock. If you're talking investing, you'd want to start at 20 and dollar cost average in over time. You'd be fine, but you'd be better off just putting it into an index if you were doing that. But also then you could make the argument that that might not be your best bet, but we don't know your needs and goals. So you're just kind of playing into your question. The answer is maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know how well Burger King does these days.
Yeah, Burger King's probably not the best thing to invest in.
Okay.
And let me preface that, because I think a lot of people are always looking for the silver bullet, like the one best thing. There is no one best thing, just to make it very open and honest.
Bitcoin.
There's no one great investment that's ever going to just do it for you. Never. I mean, really, if you want one that's always proven to be the better of all of them, it's real estate. Okay, but you're not dollar into real estate. The stock market is just a risky game. Over 20 years, or 30 years, sure, it'll pan out. But I'm going to tell you, I'll be honest, just like I am with everybody, you'll never make it the whole time. You'll dip into the money, you'll take the money, you'll get nervous, fear will kick in when it goes down. In theory, yeah, if you could pull that off, if you could just start in 20 and just dollar cost average in for a long period of time, 20 plus years, you'd make a bunch of money and you'd be just fine. But is that the best thing for everybody? Absolutely not. But it could be the best thing for you.
Okay, I liked that. Okay, David has kind of two questions, or two parts, I should say. We had a baby and would consider a major life change. We are looking to take out money out of my wife's teacher retirement system, though they said it doesn't matter and will need to resign first and then receive her money 3 months after resigning. Is there a different way to get her money out to buy a policy? We are in Illinois.
So David, go back to the first one, Shauna.
Yep.
Two things come to mind when you're saying that. So the teacher's retirement system, to me, that's your wife's pension, which is her defined benefit plan. It's not like a 403B, which is a defined contribution plan. So if it's the defined benefit plan, all that is designed to do for teachers and any company that still has a pension, is to provide you a defined income or a defined benefit at a specified time in the future. So in her realm, in the teacher realm, that's an income at a specified time in the future. So they are absolutely correct. If she wanted to tap into the pension, she'd have to quit. And it still doesn't mean she's going to get much money. I don't know what it is, but you'd have to call and find out what would a lump sum be if you were to just cancel. There might be a lump sum, but it's probably not going to be a lot unless she's been there for a long time. But most teachers don't just have the pension. Most teachers have a pension and then a TS, oh my God, why am I forgetting it? Brian, TSP, is that what they are? Or
a 403B.
403B, but they call them something else. Teachers always call it a tax-sheltered TSA, maybe tax sheltered annuity. They have a nickname, but it's a 403B. That's the code for nonprofits. And basically, she could take normally, if it was a 403B, a defined contribution, she can normally take a loan for up to $50,000 or 50%. But I think what you're talking about is the pension plan. And David, yeah, that is correct. She would have to leave and resign in order to get any access to the pension. Again, one of those questions that can kind of be both ways.
So a follow-up from our last question. A King stock is a stock that has paid a dividend for over 50 years and increased the dividend every year for those 50 years. There are some stocks that have done that.
Yeah, Highlander the Great, that's news. I did not know that. I didn't know that's what they called them, but that's great. Like any stock paying a dividend consistently and forever over 50 years is a good one by me. So have on at it, man. Dollar cost away.
Megan is saying, I work with a lot of firefighters. Is it hard for them to get a policy because their job is seen as dangerous?
No.
No, we've helped multiple firefighters. I have personally. So
amazing.
Yeah, Jay on our team is a firefighter. He had no problem getting his policy.
Now, do you think an MMA fighter would have a harder time getting a policy?
Airline pilots, can be a bit tricky.
Oh, I have an MMA fighter client, and yes, they are rated. They rate them.
Really? Well, I mean, come on, look at how many times those guys get hit in the head.
Yeah. Yeah.
The other ones that can be hard to get a policy at all is anybody that's in special forces.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
The active special forces is a very, very difficult thing.
Yeah.
All right, we're caught up now, so ask us some questions, my friends.
Do we have any MMA fighters on here? What's the hardest you've ever been punched in the face? What's that?
I train MMA fighters. I mean, I used to train at an MMA gym, but once I branched off, specializing in jiu-jitsu, it's a little bit different. We don't do punches or kicks, but one of my guys, he was one of my assistant coaches. He just had a MMA fight and dominated. But yeah, it's pretty fun.
Wow, that's awesome. So, I mean, I just watch bits and pieces on social media of some of the hits that these guys take, you know, like
It's brutal.
not expecting the kick to the face. Has there been any deaths from MMA?
I'm sure.
There was, but I know there's been a couple of guys where they're debilitated for life. They're mentally debilitated.
Yeah, my buddy actually, it was like a amateur kind of promoter or like fight league. The cage was broken, so where they shut the gate, he tackled the guy through the cage. It opened, and he went flying and landed and hurt his head. And he wasn't the same. It took him like 3-4 years to get his faculties back. It was crazy, and they were in on it. They knew about it, so he's getting a huge lawsuit, like a $2 million settlement. But yeah, it messed them up pretty good.
Yikes.
Yeah.
I mean, those guys are just warriors. I mean, when you think about it, you think back to Roman times. I mean, that's gladiator all the way.
Since we don't have any questions, do you want to speak to that though? Like, let's say you've been injured, you have a huge settlement though, and you have like a risky health situation. Can you even start a policy in that situation, or are there a lot of roadblocks there?
It depends. I have a client right now or someone that they're waiting for the settlement to come in from the city. They got hit by a snow plow. I mean, it messed them up pretty bad, but they're fine. Their lifespan has not been impacted. So that's the thing, was the lifespan is not impacted. Now their ability to work is a little more impacted, but yeah, from my understanding, if your lifespan is impacted, that's where the issues come in.
That is correct. They'll dive in a case like that. They'll dive deeper into the underwriting to just make sure that they're doing it right. But yeah, no, I've gotten a whole bunch of people policies that definitely, had some issues, but it didn't affect their longevity or their mortality.
Yeah.
Looks like Michael came back in. He was
I know. So he said, sorry for the delay, guys. I'm in a position to either get an $800,000 mortgage or I can dump $1 million into a policy and borrow from myself. So that's our.
So in that case, yes. So if you're asking for the terms of paying back your own loan that you control.
Yeah,
so
to buy a house, looks like.
Yeah, so you can set the terms of your payback of that loan, the loan repayment. But I mean, since it's going to be paid back with interest and you're paying yourself back, you can always just mirror a traditional loan as far as the amount you want to pay back if you want. But at a minimum, pay the interest is typically our response. But obviously, the more principal you pay back or cash value you pay back, the more you can use. So.
I mean, here I could do it right now, and we do this often. If you went to like bankrate.com and you did a mortgage calculator, and we'll just do 800,000. So you're talking about going to a bank, getting an $800,000 mortgage. Michael, what is the interest rate that they would charge at the bank loan? And I'm just going to put 0 down just to keep this simple here. 30 years. I mean, right now going rates, I got it pegged at 6.375. So if we use that, I mean, just the thing you want to look at is that would be a monthly payment of $5,584. Actually, here, that's a little less. Let's get rid of the property tax. Let's not escrow it. I'm just going to try to keep it raw. $4,991 a month. I can tell you wholeheartedly, and we have the calculators that will prove this. If you put $1 million into a policy, borrowed $800,000 out, paid your policy back $4,991 a month, you'd be a very happy man. But the only issue you'd be faced with there is if you did a policy of that size, you'd have to be able to stabilize the policy and maintain the policy, which, if you did the million, it's about a $10,000 a month premium deposit you'd have to be able to fund the policy at, just because of the MEC rules. But if you could do that, holy crap. I mean, Like right here, if I go to this one and I look at the amortization schedule, you would literally, if you paid your policy, your bank back, just like you'd pay their bank over 30 years. Now, I don't know whether that's something you would do, but you would basically pay yourself $996,745 in interest. That should be all you need to know.
Carson, didn't you just do this for one of your friends? I thought I saw like some content saying I just saved my friend $2 million. They were going to buy a house cash.
Exactly right. Yeah, they were actually going to do build the house ground up, and they needed $2 million to do that, and they were going to run the whole thing through their own policy and do exactly what he's looking at doing. And he ended up being able to pay him. He wanted to do like a long, regular amortized schedule, so 30 years payback. Just like this. Yeah, he'd pay himself back all that interest. Same situation.
Yeah, I mean, the amortization schedules are brutal. I mean, look at how much interest in a mortgage you're paying to the bank, and that's how much principal. So on this kind of a mortgage, year one, you're paying $2,987 to your principal, $16,976 to interest. And you haven't even really paid your mortgage down you paid it down less than $3,000. Like if this was you doing what you just suggested, if you had the means to put the money into the policy first, make the payments, the premium deposits on the policy, as well as repay yourself what the mortgage would have cost. So you'd have to be, in other words, the best way to say it is you'd have to be able to save roughly $10,000 a year or $10,000 a month, sorry, $120,000 a year to have to be able to save, and of $49.91 plus utilities, taxes, and all that good stuff. And if you could do that, there's no reason ever mathematically that you shouldn't finance your own house.
Yep.
So Michael had a follow-up question saying 10,000 in addition to the minimum, like let's call that $5,000 that minimum that you're repaying. So correct, right?
Yeah, near two.
Well, there's a difference. There's a difference between a premium and a loan. And so you have to be funding into your policy premium consistently over time. That's what he's referring to. 10 grand a month of premium. That would be your surplus.
Yeah, you're saving 10 grand a month. Like your premium is savings, right? Just think of your premium deposit is the amount you normally would save in a bank or somewhere else. You have to be able to do that on top of the mortgage payment.
And to be able to put that much in, right, 120 a year, you'd have to make 4x that almost, right? To your gross to be able to put that much in on an annual basis too. Depending on your age and other things, putting that much extra rocket booster in, you're going to have a massive death benefit. So all of those things, right? Like, see, there's a lot of variables here.
No, Michael, it's definitely not a fee, man. It's the amount of premium deposit you're putting in. So essentially it's your savings. I don't have an illustration to show, but like if you just put it this way, like in a policy design like that, there's a lot of factors, but let me just hypothetically give you an answer. If you had the means to dump in $1 million, okay, forget about the loan coming out, you dump in $1 million, and then each year you funded at $10,000, each month you funded at $10,000 a month. That's 120 a year. In a design like that, and I think everybody here will agree, by year two, the 120 you put in, you'd be able to take more than 120 out. That policy would be so damn efficient. So when you talk about a fee, it's definitely not a fee. It's your savings. So right now, where does your savings go? Like if you're saving for a house, most people put money into a bank, right? So all you're doing is you're changing where the money goes. You're changing the money you put into a bank and you're putting it into a policy. So it's savings. It's not a fee, not even close. So you got to get the fee out of your head. It's just you're saving that much. Plus, you're making different than what you're doing now. If you got $1 million, you could buy if you could put $1 million into a policy, that means you saved $1 million. So how did you save that $1 million? And you probably live somewhere that you pay rent or pay a mortgage. So if you're saving up $1 million and you're making a mortgage payment, this is no different because you're already doing it.
But to Michael's question is, I think he's almost seeing it as one transaction, like one thing, like I give you $1 million and you give me 800 back, like without taking into consideration that in order to do that, you have to spend $10,000, not spend, but you have to be able to pay $10,000 a month premium deposit.
No, you'd have to be able to save money into the future. Otherwise, you're going to violate the MEC rules, and the policy is going to be a taxable investment, just like anything else. So if that's the case, if you're just looking to put $1 million in and take 800 out, just put it in a bank account.
Yep.
It's future savings. You have to be able to do future savings in order for these to work.
I'm trying to build it right now.
Joe, I saw your eyes, and I started doing some math too that I figured Joe might be saying is like, well, go get a mortgage, put your money in a policy, get that money to work to then pay that mortgage payment. That's what I was kind of thinking Joe was going to start saying. But
Do you
stay
want
on topic?
Go ahead.
Do we want to share an illustration? Because I have it shared already on here.
There's a lot more questions that just came in. Yeah. Yes. Share the illustration, but we got to then let's get to the other questions.
Okay.
Well, he said, and then Michael's saying, where does the 10,000 accumulate and when can I pull it out? And for how long am I committed to the 10K per month?
Michael, we almost just need to go back to square one and just like watch the 90-minute
video. 90-minute presentation.
Get it on how this works. Because they're great questions and they're very logical questions, but you're missing so many little pieces that we teach in the 90-minute that would fill in all those gaps. Because I don't know.
I'm at 225.
I'll tell you what, Michael, you should just come on to the training we've got after this because I'm looking for something to talk about, and that would be a cool thing to talk about.
Let's do it. That's great. Okay. Stephen, Carson put something in the chat. If you can share that.
That's the 90-minute.
Oh, that's the 90-minute. Okay, never mind. Sorry, I thought that was
that's
what you were
definitely Michael's starting place is to watch the 90 minutes.
Got it.
Yeah. Or come on this training next, and I'll literally do the first part of the training all about your scenario and give an example of it because I could take that example and take you back to square one. Why would you do it? Where does the funds go? How does it work? And we might even be able to mathematically get into it with an illustration.
I'm at the 225, so I made it come in at 250 on a $1 million dump.
I think it's $1 million total, Joe. So I think it's $1 million total that he was talking about. So you're gonna build it with the base, like the.
Total. I did a $1 million dump.
Let's call it maybe a $850 dump and a $150 policy.
Okay.
Yeah, you should be able to do it with $100,000 a year and $1 million death benefit. Or sorry, $1 million dump in, or 900,000 and 100. So yeah, what's our next question? Or are we waiting on that illustration?
No,
we're good. I think 90-minute. Yeah.
Okay. JB is saying, can you qualify for a whole life if you have filed for bankruptcy?
Typically, yes. It does need to be, discharged and settled. And depending on what type it is, there may be a bit of a time delay. You may have to wait a year or two, but typically, yes.
Okay. Howard Bates is saying, is there enough information in the Nelson's book for someone to build one of those special policies?
I think the book will give you a really good head start in understanding the process, the concept. It would do absolutely nothing for you in understanding how to build one of these special policies. And you wouldn't be able to build one yourself anyway unless you're a licensed agent. So you'd have to probably work with someone like us to build the policy. But I've got another thing for you, Howard. Go on my YouTube channel at the Chris Noggle, and there's a video on there that says how to design an IBC policy updated. Make sure you watch the updated one. That literally shows you how these are designed. But again, if you're not a licensed agent, it's great knowledge. You'll know how they're designed. You can't do it. You have to work with an agent or a money mentor like us that knows how to do it.
Okay. Smart Money Culture saying, I have a broadcast television business. We would like to run the advertising dollars through our own infinite banking system and then borrow back and then repay through the advertising dollars.
Oh my God, that's such an awesome strategy.
Yeah.
I can sincerely speak highly on this. I mean, number one, I've done very similar things, not for advertising, but in the book, What Would the Rockefellers Do? They literally talk all about that. They talk all about doing exactly that, taking money from the policy, paying for advertising. But you know who else did this? And this is factual data, Ronald McDonald. So you want to know why this works? Because Ronald McDonald was a marketing campaign that McDonald's did. And that campaign initially was fully funded by whole life insurance policy loans. using, and they would take the loans from the policy, fund the campaign, take the earnings, roll it back into the policy, continue funding it. You can look it up, like look up Ronald McDonald and look up Whole Life Insurance funded that entire marketing campaign. It's wild. So that's the best case study you're ever going to get.
And I have a client right now that has a business, and they're saying, hey, we're using cash to run the business, pay for employees, all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, wow, okay, cool. Park the money in your policy, use it as your line of credit, do the same thing, except now you've got it working for you in two places. And they were like just blown away that they hadn't heard about this.
You might be able to do it with one policy. Carson has a client that I've been talking to quite a bit, and he's in a lot of different businesses, but he's basically talking about doing something similar for a different part of his business. And, we're talking about like, how much can I put in the policy? And we ran the human life value rough estimates yesterday, and he wanted to put, certain millions into the policy, but I told him, like, based on his income and assets, he could put far more. And he's like, oh, wow, I didn't know that. I thought it'd be capped out. So you could probably, based on what you're just saying, since you got, all that income, 2 million in sales, that could count as gross income. So that would basically determine your human, or some of your human life value on top of other things. So yeah, you could probably fund lots of that.
Okay, and then that's, I think, it for questions. Michael kind of chimed back in saying he's been following us for a really long time and this has never been discussed. And then he said, love you guys. And then he said, I'm in Vegas. Who's local here that could help?
Carson.
I'm not local in Vegas, but I'm there very frequently. I live in Southern California. So
you guys have a house there. You're as local as it gets. You have a house in Henderson, or your dad does, but it's basically your house too.
Yeah.
We're nationwide.
Or any of us. We all will Zoom in with you one-on-one.
And then Howard's saying, I'm having a problem getting in touch with someone that can do it in Tennessee. You can definitely talk to us, right?
Yeah, we're doing them in Tennessee. You can do them anywhere.
Yeah.
Anywhere.
Yeah, so everybody on the screen pretty much has their license in the state of Tennessee and any other state. So you can go to mentors.byobanker.com to schedule with our team. And we're not local, but we're live every week. So I feel like you're going to see us more than you would see a local person.
Yeah, almost guaranteed.
And then we got, where is the 90-minute? It's up a little bit in the chat, but I'll put it in there.
At the 5:12 mark.
Copy and
Hey,
paste
Joe,
it in
did
there.
you actually design an illustration for Michael? Like, what were you plugging away at there?
Yeah. Me?
Yeah, did you design one for Michael? Because I think he's going to join us for the training next.
I mean, I just was shooting from the hip. I mean, I put a 45-year-old male, and I did 900 dump with 100 annual. Came up to be cash value of 917. He was looking for 800 though.
Yeah.
I mean, I can tweak it and I can send it to you.
Yeah, if you could, that'd be great.
Obviously not AUL.
Just don't put a name on it. I mean,
No, I put one. I did 1 million for the name.
Nice. I love it. And I can run the mortgage calculator. And then the only other thing, what would I need? I think I'll just keep it conceptual. I'll be able to do that. We'll get close. And then we have calculators that literally would do it right to the exact penny.
Yeah.
So to that point, I don't even know what the link is. Steven, can you put the link in that you had in that email that you just were looking at? So it sounds like Chris is planning to do some of this on that next training, right?
Email I just deleted.
Yeah, certainly I'll teach that.
Let me try and find it. Yes.
I've been doing so many trainings. I literally told the team, I'm like literally running out of ideas of
Yes, so thanks, Michael.
I got tons of ideas, but for me, and Steven said, you could just repeat the same thing you do over and over and people would still love it. And I'm just like, but me, I want to challenge myself all the time. I'm constantly trying to think of new areas to push into that we haven't covered. So that's what I mean when I'm running out of content. Believe me, if I just kept doing the same thing, I'd never run out of content, but I like challenging stuff. I like doing new stuff. And I like doing off the cuff stuff because that's fun. Like when it's not planned, it's just like, well, let's just do it. Let's just run the numbers. And then then you just kind of see how it works. That's the best stuff. It's authentic. There you go. Michael, make sure you grab that link.
All right. How many loan payments can you make per year?
1 billion.
365.
Many of you want. As long as there's cash value, you can take loans.
Well, keep in mind that this is a question that comes up quite a bit now. Just for everybody's awareness, there's a minimum loan amount. And Linus, do you know what that is per company?
So it's different per company. At Lafayette, I don't believe there is a minimum, but don't hold me to that. Maybe it's $100 minimum. At One America, it's $1,000 minimum.
Okay, now let's just say they're stating this in the flip side, like how many loan payments can I make back per year? You can't overfill it. So really just until your loan's paid off, you could pay it as many times as that takes.
That depends
Then it would flip
on
to PUAs.
Yeah, that depends on the company too. Like usually you can put more PUAs in. Some companies can put more in than others. So
Someone's asking about New Mexico.
Yes. I lost it. I'm sorry. Oh,
I put it up there. So we're all licensed in most states. You don't typically need to be in the state that you're in to do a policy for you. So most of us have clients in all 50 states. So, but I don't believe we have anybody on our team that's in New Mexico.
No.
New Mexico.
watch ton of videos, super invested.
Blaze is
You're in the right
saying
place.
any. What?
He's in the right place.
Oh,
Yep.
Any suggestions for whom I should call to begin the whole life IBC idea? Been watching a ton of videos and I'm super invested on beginning and succeeding. 24 with no debts and only expenses.
Oh, you can always call our team. The link's in the chat, isn't it?
Yeah, right up above
Yeah.
Blaze's post.
So then real quick, so the chat too, you should in the chat, whether you're on Facebook or YouTube, I think it should show up. If you just look pretty much near your comment, there should be a link, and here's the 90-minute video. All right.
Another wonderful Wednesday. You did a great job.
So I want to share this win. So I had a conversation with somebody on the 15th, so last Thursday, and their policy was approved today. So less than 7 days.
Wow.
Exciting.
That's a good one.
Yeah, One America. So that's who it was through.
Oh yeah, they've got a brand new thing now, especially like large case. Was it a larger case?
It's a $10K per year premium.
I think that I don't know where they're drawing the line for that, but we've got a whole new team and a whole new thing where any case that's they deem as a large case, I think it's anything 10,000 a year or more, we're getting additional support there, so things are going through way faster.
Yeah. No medical on this one required. That's kind of the big catch right there.
Thanks,
Application
Blaze.
call was yesterday.
Crazy.
No, wait a second. Okay, no, this is crazy. The application date was today.
Whoa, and they got approved.
Yesterday today, and it got approved. Like the approval was less than 24 hours.
Yeah, those are getting pretty common whenever.
Awesome.
Yep. When they can approve somebody without an exam, it's typically going to be within 24 hours.
So what? Yeah.
They're getting there, man. The technology is almost there where they literally can get instant like medical data.
Yeah, the client's 28 years old, so keep that in mind too. But if they can see all the medical data in the medical database they have access to, they don't need a medical.
Smart Money Culture. Did you get that link for that video? That's the 90-minute, but I have, I don't know, a couple of videos on my YouTube channel at the Chris Noggle, all different topics.
And then actually, just so everybody knows too, so if you're watching this from YouTube, if you expand the description of any video, as long as it's a video, not a YouTube short, but a video, it'll have the link to book a call with our mentors, Be Your Own Bankers, in every single YouTube video. So you can click on that link and book a call. I think even like the event that we're doing this weekend might be in the YouTube descriptions as well. And maybe a couple other things too.
And yes, you can do monthly, quarterly, or annual payments.
I hate the word payments. You mean deposits?
So deposits. Yeah, premiums, deposits. Yeah.
Premiums.
Premium deposits.
I was reading their
Siri's copying everything I'm saying.
And what qualifies someone to skip the medical exam?
Linus,
So we can't even really tell you that because some of that is behind the scenes stuff that underwriters see on confidential medical databases. To Brian's point earlier, but
it's going to be less than 50, right? It's going to be less than $2 million in coverage for some companies, and so it depends on a lot of factors, right, to be able to skip some of that stuff too, and then all the confidential stuff that we have no access to. But like there are some things we can say, like if you're 50 plus, you're probably going to do the height, weight, blood, and urine. They just want to make sure we're as pretty on the inside as we are on the outside. I think I got that from Joe.
Yeah, I did have someone who's 50 get approved with no medical over 50. But once again, to your point, Jason, they actually said, "Hey, I just had my checkup." Well, the insurance company might be seeing that. Like, we just don't know.
Yeah, depending on the medical provider, the insurance company can see the results of their labs that they did at the doctor. So that's pretty impressive right there.
So maybe it relies on if your doctor's like advanced and puts their stuff in the right place.
That too.
Okay, this was a really good question. So how can I have access to your Zoom calls? I just put it in the chat. All of our shows, we kind of put them on a link tree link, so you can see, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, where all of our shows are. So you can do that. And then Blaze is saying, how do I prevent mecking with the policy?
We got you.
Yeah, we take care of that. You don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, well, I mean, how do you prevent it? You have someone like us design it for you. That's how you prevent it.
I just sent it to you, Chris.
Yeah, I see it.
I think that thing looks good.
Yeah, I knew it would. I mean, that's
now I'm
like
tempted.
Yeah, so mecking a policy is nothing that you guys ever have to worry about. It's what the guys on the screen have to worry about before they give it to you and tell you this is the one for you. So that's not as though it's complicated and it has its own implications. Somebody is handling that for you, so you don't have to do that.
I like that. You just made us all feel like we were a dating service for the right policies.
Well, it is true because I don't want people to be concerned about it because it's nothing that they have to worry about because you worried about it first.
I even got a money.
And tomorrow, since we're here, I was looking at the link tree. Tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern, come to the Founding Fathers webinar because this guy right here is going to be running it tomorrow. He's going to be talking about, at the ripe old age of 24 years old, how he's using his IBC policies and funding real estate deals, and he's going to drop some knowledge on us all. So don't miss that.
Oh, that's a good question, Shauna, for you, for Justin. He's wondering how he gets the 2-day.
So if you bought the ticket already, I should have sent them out. But if it's not in your email, just email me and I can send them to you. And then if anybody didn't attend that 2-day and they would like to access to the replays, we are selling them for $23, like a discounted price. You can get the replays. You can email me for that and I can help you. So Shauna at chrisnoggle.com.
Yeah, he said he didn't get the recording, I guess.
Okay. I will check on that as soon as we hang up.
Yeah, I talked to him today.
Sweet. So Justin, I'll email you.
Cool. Anything else? All right. Thanks, Justin. Cool. Well, hopefully a bunch of you join us tonight for the training we're going to do where we're going to literally go completely off the cuff and literally just show things right there, real time, live, and see how it works out. And I don't know what the result will be, but we're going to find out. So we'll see you in about 30 minutes. So you guys got the link, join it, and we will be seeing you then. Thanks for joining for another Ask Me Anything happy hour.